Hello everyone. Welcome to join our presentation about China's information operation. Uh, the information operation on social media has been recognized as one major threat to all democratic countries since the Russian interference in 2016. People are worried that these authoritarian regimes like Russia and China, their info ops will influence the election results and polarize the democratic society. In the past few years, our company has been cooperating with the government units, researchers, and journalism to analyze the Chinese-speaking social media landscape. So in the following 30 minutes, we will summarize how we understand and study the Chinese-speaking info ops as a cyber threat analyst. Okay, okay. But a little bit introduction here. I'm Chang, the cyber threat analyst from NT5, the co-author of NT5's information operation white paper. My research interests focus on the information operation and the Chinese speaking on the ground market. I've been the invited speaker of many security conferences to talk about info-op and disinformation, such as the virtual training workshop held by the Taiwanese government, the VGCTF, and the Co-Blue. And Silvia?
Hello, everyone. This is Silvia Ye, and I'm also the author of Team T5's Information Operation White Paper. And my research interest lies in info ops and cyber policy in Asia-Pacific countries. Previously, I have attended Co-Blue 2020 and also some closed-door meeting in Taiwan. Yeah.
Okay. Just for NT5 is a Taiwan-based cybersecurity company. We dedicate to cyber threat research, and our main strength is to help our clients to solve advanced persistent threat (APT). Most of the clients are in Taiwan and Japan. Our two main products, Threat Sonar and Threat Vision, has been adopted by many government units, research institute, and big corporations. This is the cover of our threat intelligence report. Our report provides technical, operational, and strategic intelligence. We also provide info intelligence and all kinds of on-demand reports. Okay, so today's outline is we will give a brief introduction about the information operation and the current consensus about Chinese information operation. Then we will take a deep look into China's Great Firewall, and we will see the public opinion guidance industry inside the Great Firewall. And then Silvia will share our investigation about China's information operation against Taiwan. We will share an interesting campaign happened on Taiwan's local forum, PTT. If you have any question about our talk, please leave your messages or you can type in our Slack hallway. Okay, so the term information operation, info-op, is first used in the US military. It means to influence the decision-making process of the adversary. And later, in the era of social media, after the well-known 2016 Russian interference against the US election, this term usually refers to the state-sponsored campaigns on the social media. These campaigns are the goal of these campaigns are to influence or manipulate the social media users. And zoom into China's activity on the social media platforms. We believe there are two, China's info could be categorized into two kinds. First one is the overt operation, meaning that these operations are openly conducted and without any concealment. These overt actors are you can easily identify as the agent of the Chinese governments, like the diplomats or the Chinese embassies. And the other one is much trickier. It's covert operation, meaning these operations cannot be directly attributed to the Chinese government. This actor behind this covert operation usually more aggressive to spread disinformation, conspiracy theory, and hate speech. And sometimes they will even perform doxing campaigns. Okay. So in Taiwan, China used both covert and overt operations against Taiwanese netizens. As we all know, due to the historical reasons, the reunification of Taiwan has always been the unfinished business in the eyes of the Chinese Communist Party. So as a cybersecurity researcher in Taiwan, we are basically sitting on the front line of China's all kinds of cyber attacks. We have been not just battling the China's APT malwares, but we are also fighting this kind of Chinese origin disinformation for a long time. And as a cyber threat analyst, our methodology of the info-op research is, of course, using the famous diamond model of intrusion analysis. And the next slide, yes. You can see we put all the social media platforms on the infrastructure side, and we trying to put all the capabilities, all the narratives of this disinformation on the capability side. And just like malware research, our primary goal is to trying to use this diamond model to pivot to find the actors behind every disinformation campaigns. We track in the past 2 years. In the past 2 years, we track hundreds of disinfo groups and pages, and we found lots of campaigns. Meaning we basically suggesting we have a lot of every campaign we use a diamond model. So we collect these thousands of models to form our database. And we majorly follow the big political event in the Chinese-speaking cyberspace. You can see we follow through the 2018 Taiwan local elections and 2019 Hong Kong protests and 2020 our presidential election, and of course the 2020 pandemic. We identify and analyze info campaigns in these various events, and we trying to summarize China's tactic, procedure, and these kind of things. Okay. Okay. So to understand China's info-op, we have to first to look within the Great Firewall. In the context of information operation, we should not just focus on the censorship, because we have to focus on how CCP amplifies the narrative it wants its people to see. We believe one thing you first come up with inside the Great Firewall, you may be familiar with the China's censorship mechanism. Yet, there are 3 features inside the Great Firewall we would like to share with you. First one is the public opinion guidance. This term in Chinese is called 舆情引导 or 舆论引导. It did not get so much attention like the censorship mechanism over a few years. Maybe because this term sounds so neutral and harmless, but actually this is a growing and prominent industry in China. This competitive industry provides the government a quick and adequate understanding of the ongoing online discussion. And usually this service provides the government a quick reactions to what they're going on the online discussion. You can see the slide here. This is a dashboard from one public opinion guiding company called Army Dog, 军犬舆情. This company claimed that their products are powered by big data and artificial intelligence. Its system can immediately fill out the so-called sensitive content. And you can see here, you can visualize it beautifully on the screen. This company, if you check all the its open official data, official documents, you can see, you will find its main clients is the China's Ministry of Public Security, MPS. And to help MPS, even in its official website, it advertised that its system can detect and analyze the minority languages in China, such as Tibetan, Uyghur, and Mongolians. If you check the Chinese government procurement website, you will find almost all the Chinese government agencies use this kind of public opinion guidance service to monitor and check the online discussions. Actually, in the news from New York Times a month ago, they found that during the outbreak of the COVID-19, one local Chinese government unit used another company called Yunrun Big Data to control the online narratives. And the Yunrun Big Data even made platforms to help the local authority to task their trolling enemies. So that leads to our second feature inside the Great Firewall. You can see here is one prominent example. We see a campaign launched by the Chinese state media. This campaign targeted Mike Pompeo for calling him a liar and having double standards. You can see the pattern of China's online propaganda inside. This screen shows the Weibo, so you can see the China's online propaganda on Weibo. These official accounts, please focus on the middle of our slides, the local prosecutor office. Chinese government asks every government unit to have an official social media account. They call it governmental affair new media, meaning 政务新媒体 in Chinese. This official account is supposed to be the bridge between the government and the people, but in the propaganda campaigns, these accounts will act as the amplifier of this state media. Okay, after the government went to full gear of their propaganda, it leads to the third feature, which is the mobilization of patriotic netizen. The patriotic netizen is composed of the what we call the trolling enemy, the little pink, the 50-cent party. But due to the time limit, we just use the one prominent example. This mobilization of patriotic netizen against the Hong Kong protesters in 2019. The context here is in late August in 2019. Anonymous website that disclosed personal details of Hong Kong protesters. The website described the protester as a troublemaker and parasite, and they are the foreign agents aiming to destroy Hong Kong. And they reveal their personal data, including the phone number, social media accounts, even address. And you can see this kind of doxing activity should be banned on every social media platforms. Yet you can see here the Chinese state media, CCTV, posted a video on Weibo to promote this website. It asks everyone to recognize these faces and to understand this violent, this terrorism. Yeah, and this post was widely shared, and almost every we saw the governmental news media and even the Chinese Communist Youth League share this post. It ended up all the Patriarchy netizen has voluntarily started a hashtag campaign on Weibo called "I dare you to pull off your mask" and take off your mask movement. 有本事摘口罩 or 全民摘口罩行动 in Chinese. These campaigns, this campaign has successfully inflamed the nationalism and the patriotic Chinese internet users. Many netizens have joined these doxing campaigns to demand these protesters to reveal their true identity, which we know revealing true identity in Hong Kong protest time is very dangerous because they may face the unlawful punishment. So with these features such as the strong technical support from the public opinion guidance industry and this multiple official accounts, the Chinese government could make every political means, short video, or hashtag to make them trending on every major Chinese platforms such as Weibo, WeChat, or Douyin. So with the dominance inside the Great Firewalls, we are talking about the Silvia will share about China's activity beyond Great Firewall.
Hello. Yeah, so this is Silvia, and next I will talk about Chinese info beyond the Great Firewall. So currently, we think that China is expanding the reach of its propaganda machine on foreign social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Of course, we believe that it is not as powerful as it is inside the GFW. However, one day it could become a real threat if the international community didn't draw enough attention about it. So to start with, the Chinese propaganda machine has built a significant presence over social media platforms in recent years. For example, from this chat made by The Economist in 2019, you can see the followers growth rate of the most followed Facebook pages. So you can see that the growth rate of like Shakira, Ronaldo, and Will Smith are steady throughout the years. Yet, when you look at the Chinese state media, including the CGTN, China Daily, the People's Daily, Xinhua, and Global Times, they had like 10 million Facebook page followers before 2015. However, starting from that year, their follower numbers started to take off. 5 years from them, they have gone through a significant growth, and you can say even a strange growth. Now, this media outlets has become the most followed media outlet from Facebook. The stat is really shocking because like back in 2014, none of them actually had more than 3 million fans. Facebook said it had only found a very small number of fake fans of the Chinese news pages. So we think one explanation for the growth in the popularity might be the heavy spending on Facebook ads, or another explanation might be what Che mentioned just now, the public opinion guidance tool. But in terms of sponsor and advertisement, it is no secret that China is spending a lot to push its official message through Facebook and Twitter. Like currently, hundreds of state media ads are running on Facebook. And also, according to the government notice on the Chinese site, the China's internet regulator, the CAC, has agreed a contract almost worth $1 million with People's Daily to operate and promote content about China. And also, there are also reports of Chinese media outlets hiring digital marketing firms to boost their likes and followers. So up until now, 4 of the Chinese state media outlets remain as the most followed news media on Facebook, while the state-controlled tabloid, the Global Times, has surpassed BBC in 2020. This means that China now is running 5 media outlets with the highest number of Facebook following. And other famous and popular news media like the CNN and New York Times or Guardian, they're way behind the Chinese state media. And also what's interesting is that if you pay enough attention, you can see that the number 1 on the list, the CGTN, now it has over 100 million followers, which means that CGTN actually have more followers than Shakira on Facebook. So following this trend, it is very possible that CGTN might have more followers than Ronaldo 2 years later. So yeah, the reason why we have a great concern is because the Chinese propaganda machine have a bad reputation of spreading disinfo and conspiracy theory, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. We observed that the Chinese propaganda machine have put a lot of effort to establish the image of China as a global savior instead of a troublemaker. So, for example, as many of you may know, the famous diplomat, the wolf warrior Zhao Lijian, and he has been promoting the conspiracy theory of US Army brought the coronavirus to Wuhan. So what Facebook and Twitter have done about it is that they mark this account as Chinese government account. However, although overt operations are interesting enough, what about the operation they are covered? What about those influential social media accounts which are not marked as China government account? So in recent years, we have identified numerous pro-Chinese government fan pages on Facebook. What is interesting is that many of them actually have admins located in China. In addition, many of their post content are 100% identical as what Chinese state media posted on Weibo. So take the screenshot, for example. The China Daily posted a news article on Weibo about the conspiracy theory of the US biological base connection with the coronavirus. And the next day, the Facebook page called Ting Ting See the World, the Ting Ting 看世界, it has 2 admins located in China, and it posts an identical post on Facebook. So apart from this Facebook page, this Ting Ting See the World, we observe there are still a lot of pages like this active on Facebook. They have followers number ranging from 1,000 to hundreds of thousands, and they are popular among overseas Chinese-speaking community in Taiwan, Hong Kong, Southeast Asia, Australia, and etc. And some of these Chinese-speaking community actually have the rights to vote in other democratic country, which means that they could be the primary target of the Chinese authority. And the next one. So apart from those pro-China KOL, those key opinion leaders, we also detected a lot of political content farms and spam bot account help propagating content made by the Chinese state media. In recent years, you might have heard that the social media giants like Facebook and Twitter have all announced that they remove hundreds of thousands of fake accounts linked to China. Even so, up until today, we still observe a considerable amount of accounts continue to boost the narrative of the Chinese government across the social media platform. So now I will show you an example of how these fake account and content farm amplify the content of the Chinese state media. So you can see this is a news article posted by Xinhua News on August 15, and it is titled "The Politicalization of COVID-19 Gets US Trapped in Deep Trouble." And the highlighted sentence in the article was later become the material for spam bot and content farm. So the article was first copied and shared by a notorious Chinese content farm called KK News. And then the text from the news article was spread across Facebook and Twitter via the spamming account. These accounts, actually, they show a strong signs of automate behavior because they simultaneously posted numerous identical content on a daily basis. And most of the content are copied from the Chinese state media or the Chinese social media. Next slide, please. Yeah. And what is interesting is that some of the accounts in the botnet use mugshots as profile picture. If you are familiar with online forums and dark web, you would know that the mugshots are a very common product which is available in the dark web. And the next slide. Yeah, and we also spotted some cross-platforms activity, which means that the same kind of material can be spread from YouTube to Twitter to Facebook. So from the screenshot, you can see that that is a video made in a national news site controlled by a party media outlet, and then it got transmitted from the Chinese news site to YouTube, and then it is promoted on Twitter and Facebook. So the video content is kind of a tricky one because it is really hard for the platforms and researchers to detect the campaign. And next, yeah. So now I'm going to focus on China's info-op against Taiwan. As Cher mentioned before, Taiwan has been facing threats and influence from China for decades. So first, this is the disinformation threat landscape of Taiwan's 2020 general election. You can see that Taiwan has a society with high connectivity. The usage of instant messaging in Taiwan has reached over 90%, and while the usage of social networking has reached over 80%. And among those social media, Facebook is the most popular one. Facebook has about 80% rate of penetration in Taiwan. Besides, local forums such as the PTT and Dcard are also popular among the Taiwanese community, as both of them have over millions of active users. In short, the Taiwanese society it has a high reliance on social media to access information. As a result, these platforms provide the best environment for threat actors to launch info-ops. So in the election in 2020, the Taiwan Central Election Commission has actually identified 128 disinformation. And some of the disinfo included Tsai Ing-wen faked her PhD degree, or there were a lot of electoral fraud done by the DPP, or some of the actors even say that the US has interfered in Taiwan's election. So we investigated the content and those amplifying accounts and found that many of the disinfo could be traced back to the Chinese social media platforms. Next slide. Yes, for instance, we found that a cluster of Facebook pages with names starts with the global Chinese. As you can see on the slide, most of the pages start with the 全球华人, the global Chinese, and they use the profile picture which has the China flag. And the main theme of these pages is almost the same. They are pro-China and anti-US. And during the election period, they have posted pro-KMT and anti-DPP articles via the link of content form. So next slide. If you click on this website, you can see that the layouts on these sites are highly identical. This is because they are template websites with similar coding structure. And from the coding structure, we also found that they use the same Google Analytics, the GA code, which means that these content farms are operated by the same organization. Through OSINT investigation, we have actually pinned down the owner of these pages and website. So the organization is apparently run by a Malaysian Chinese. We are yet to confirm his connection with the Chinese authority. However, this content farm has once again, we identified that the content are from the China Military Online, 中国军网, which is the news website of the People's Liberation Army. However, that is not the whole picture, because just what I talk about is what already a lot of people are talking about. We believe that the situation of InfoOp can get worse when state-sponsored hacker enter the InfoOp threat landscape, and we call it an APT plus InfoOp attack model. As all of you know, state-sponsored hackers, or more professionally called as the Advanced Persistent Threat APT actors, usually conduct cyber espionage operation. However, last year we did identify an InfoOp that can be linked to a notorious Chinese APT group, and we call the operation as Operation Joker. And we believe the goal of the campaign is to discredit Taiwan's intelligence agency and government-based research institute. First, a little bit of the background knowledge. Joker is a messaging app developed by Taiwan's Research Institute, and it is widely used by government units. And Operation Joker took place on PTT, which is a popular Reddit-like forum in Taiwan. Yeah, so this is the homepage of PTT. Looks quite cute, right? And the next slide. Yeah, so there is a special feature about PTT. It is that this forum will display the IP address of the author of the post. So yeah, we know that IP address is a very valuable IOC in cyber incident investigation. So this special feature about PTT has given us more opportunity to dig out more about the actor. Next slide. Yes, in last year, July, we detected a campaign when the threat actors has actually controlled several PTT accounts and disseminated disinformation about the Joker app. The actors used these accounts to claim that the Joker app and the Research Institute were hacked, and many of the confidential data from the government were exposed. We believe the actor aimed to discredit Taiwan's intelligence agency and the military unit in order to sow distrust and chaos in the Taiwanese society. And next slide. So in short, we found that the actors has control about 20 Taiwanese IP and about 50 PTT accounts in this campaign. So what's noteworthy is that we found that one of the IP overlaps with the C2 server of a Chinese state-sponsored APT group, which we have tracked for years. However, I need to clarify that the C2 was used by the Chinese APT group in 2017, and Operation Joker took place last year. So we cannot be fully certain that the C2 is still used by the Chinese APT. Yeah, but that is the information we got so far. So let me wrap things up for today's presentation. So as cybersecurity professional, we know that now disinfo and InfoOp has become a more and more pressing problem in the era of the pandemic as well as the infodemic. So from the case of the Operation Joker, we can see that the state-sponsored threat actors will keep evolving and changing their tactics over time. So with a threat intelligence mindset, we believe this can provide instant insight into actor methodology and exposes potential risks. So this year, we have published a series of white paper on InfoOps, and today's presentation is mainly based on the report. If you are interested in our research, you can request a copy from our official website, and it is in English, so don't worry. If you have any question regarding the presentation, you can ask us later on Slack. So that's all from us. Thanks for your attention.